Evening, yeah, runs. Welcome to the Theatre of the Mind Sunday sermon, where we are more than just the headlines, baby. So, welcome to the body of the Kirk. Please, if you are already in the pews, make way for others so that they're not having to squeeze that big lardy arse of theirs. But welcome to this particular live for a Sunday evening. We'll get to your comments in a moment. Lots to talk about this evening. We'll have some deeper stuff. Of course, we'll have some lighter stuff. But all the way through the next couple of hours, we will do stuff. That Jaeger hibiscus goes down rather lovely. Andrew James says, Rowan, Rev, the Reverend, should we have a vote? Should the Reverend go to New York on the 21st? Hang on, what's going on in New York on the 21st? I think I might have something in the diary. Have you noticed some of the clips that we're putting up on the channel? I'm looking at you like this, and all of a sudden I'm looking like that. Well, that's where all the comments are. They're over there on my larger computer screen, and I'm operating via my phone. So that's why if you think, oh, what you doing? I'm reading your comments. Let's have a vote. Should the Rev go to New York on the 21st and do a live stream whilst he is glammed up at a Sabrina Carpenter and a Taylor Swift tribute night? Never mind one for yes, two for no. You're utter rockin', Andrew James. No. In the words of the great Chinese philosopher, you can bugger off. I'm not, whoever off maybe. No, I'm not going to. I will do one day, go to New York. It's a place I haven't been yet. Well, there's too many places in Europe to be going to. Mind you, where would I go in New York? I would want to go to Harlem, definitely. But Sabrina Carpenter, well, she's what? A cockeyed, blonde, vacuous. Taylor Swift, probably a bloke. Vacuous. I mean, I saw something in one of the papers today, was it the Times, talking about sort of dating in 2024 for sort of teenagers in the early 20s. And do you know something? I am so glad that I'm not on the dating scene at the moment, because it's it's just, they reckon, according to the data, they reckon that young guys, teenage guys and early 20s guys, are not dating women anymore. They've had enough. Because obviously the body count for women nowadays, not that I'm being a misogynist at all or sexist, but women are quite proud of their body count. Men are not. And it seems that the worm has turned, to use an old phrase. So men are not, they probably just play on the PlayStation or play with something. And they're not interested in dating anymore. So, no, I mean, can you imagine going into the pit of hell that will be a Sabrina Carpenter or Taylor Swift concert? Oi, 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 oi. No, that would be genuinely my idea of hell. That and no hibiscus tea, of course. Is that retro on his bikes in the body of the Kirk this evening? Welcome, young man. Good to see you again. Rusty Mouse says, Reverend Ed, you'll need to bang your tuning fork on the pulpit tonight. We are all going to try and sing in harmony. I am not. I'm already in trouble with the bishop. I'm not getting my tuning fork out in front of the nuns and the choir boys. Can you imagine? I'd be in deep doo-doo. Not quite the same doo-doo as Starmer the Harmer. Des Ashton says, we three queens of Starmer are one in a taxi, one in a car, one in a scooter, playing with Hooters by a BBC presenter. Hooters. I love Hooters in Nottingham. They do the best chicken wings in the world ever. Fabulous. Thank you, Des. I think we've got the makings of a body of the Kirk hymn there. Lionel Layton, unrehearsed live. I'm early for a Lionel Layton, definitely. You may, yes. Blooming fingers on little keys. Well hung lesbian. I'm early for a change. Enough time to make a sandwich. Oh, lovely. Lionel, what sandwich are we having? Is there a spare one for the Rev? Isn't that always the way? If the vicar comes round, nearly got myself in trouble there. If the vicar comes round, you always get the best biscuits out, don't you? Or is that just my house? Stuart says, Rev, the bishop has noticed you're enjoying the hibiscus too much lately. He wants to know what I'm putting in it. I told him 5 sugars, sir. Nothing Jaeger bomb like. Not sure he believed me. He's on to me now. Oh, don't be bashing the bishop, Stuart. Just be gentle. Be careful. Make sure you tell him you've got well-hung baubles at home and a magnificent erection in the front room, and you'll be fine. It is Christmas after all. Goodwill to all men, including you, Stuart, from the bishop. Who's a bit grumpy at the moment because I don't think he's getting any Jaeger bomb in his tea. Des Ashton, you smooth talking tart. Evening all, you utter wrong-uns, ready for the great Reverend Battenberg. Oh, Des, you're just after my Jaeger bombs, aren't you? Lionel Layton says, oh yeah, we've already done that one. I'm going, Bolly Galtieri's in the body of the kirk. He says, good evening, Adrian. Yeah, utter wrong. Lionel Layton's, he's away with a... I've just played 2 Christmas songs on my channel. Am I allowed to mention that? Yeah, of course, Lionel. You can play anything you want. Thank you, Stephen, gentleman and a scholar. Lionel continues, I wouldn't want have say something in the Oh, yeah. Look, there's bound to be sweary Mary tonight, so any help towards the swear box or finding some lead for the body of the kirk's roof would be most appreciated. I can't stop swearing, man. I mean, I know some people find it a bit challenging, but in context, it works. Oi, 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 oi. Stuart, that Jaeger bomb in that hibiscus is mighty fine. Mighty fine. Karen Boo says, evening, Karen Boo. Welcome, yeah, wrong. Karen Boo says, evening, Rev. Evening, all you wrong-uns. Made sure I'm early and at the front tonight. What do you have for us? I'm not going to show it off in public, Karen Boo. I will get arrested, but I think I've got a sermon that you might like, so to speak. And you're not getting any me Jaeger bomb hibiscus. I can't stop the. Yeah, I can. There you go. We are looking at. We're not. So the premise of the channel is this: we kind of take my. I worked it out today. I've been in commercial radio. Thank you, Karen. I've been in commercial radio 40 years. Now you can tell by this ugly fizzog, I started when I was about 2. So I've been in commercial radio 40 years. If you include my hospital radio malarkey, that's 45 years. So I take all of I've been an editor of magazines, I've written newspaper columns. So I take all of that experience and just kind of give a perspective on what's going on. Sometimes to my own detriment. But I just like to bring to you stuff that you kind of go, no, behave, Rev. No, you're talking out your hairy derriere, man. And you go away just laughing. And then 2 or 3 months down the line, you go, oh, he told us about that months ago. How did he know that? Here, Rev, give us the bloody lottery numbers for the weekend, will you? No. So I've hang on, where's my tea bag gone? I've given you loads of stuff. So we will have a take on what's going on. Greg Wallace, Syria. I've been telling you about Syria for 2 years. We've done 131 lives. I've been telling you for all of these 131 lives what is going on. And we will get to it in a moment. But I keep telling you, it's showbiz for the harder thinking. Cheers, Scotty. It's the entertainment arm of the military-industrial complex. We are going to talk about the Donald and the hairpiece. The hairpiece was looking pretty wild at Notre Dame. I mean, he was standing next to Baldy Billy, King Billy. He was standing next to him at Notre Dame, and you think, oh, that needed a bit of a trim there, Don. You need to be sharper than that. But then I thought, hang on, what's he doing there? Where's brown trousers gone? I mean, I don't. It's AI, so they're trying to do this thing between Jill Biden and the Donald. But I just thought, where's President Brown Trousers? President Shitty Pants? Where is he? He's not to be seen. Is he dead? Could be. Could be Jim Carrey in a mask. Oh, I'm going to go through that very quickly at this rate. From the chair, evening. Did you hear the UK government has extended 3 French power stations contracts for an extra 2 years? No, I didn't. From the chair. No, I hadn't. So tell me that again. The British government has extended 3 French power stations contracts for an extra 2 years. I mean, I saw pictures of Emil and his wife. Did I say that out loud? So I saw them, and I just thought, they're up to stuff. And did you see that the handshake battle? It was like thumb wars, but with handshakes between Emil Macron and the Donald, who's going to be president on January 20th. He's president-elect. Or if you're Japanese, president-erect. And because the Japanese can't pronounce their L's. Sorry, they can't... Yeah, whatever. No, I was not from the chair, but thank you for making me aware. I will do my research, because they're at it. The elites, they're at it. You'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. Well, Klaus, mate, in the words of the great Chinese philosopher, how many counts were you charged with? Oh, did I say that out loud? From the chair, government fining car companies 20% of the car's worth if they sell over the quota of petrol and diesel cars, pushing them to sell electric EVs. Let me just tell you something. Electric vehicles are done. There's not enough lithium for all the batteries for electric vehicles. So at best they can be hybrids, petrol and electric, but it's not going to work. I don't care what they... How can they... And I'm trying to come to grips with this. How can these crooks... That's not a family name. That's crooks, liars, thieves, ne'er-do-wells. How can they turn around and go, we're in charge, so we're going to fine you 20% of your turnover if you don't start making more electric vehicles? And the car manufacturers are like, who wants an electric vehicle? No one. They can't get them bloody insured, Your Honour. So who gives them the power? Oh, I forgot, us. Maybe we should take the power away. We can't for 5 years. Yes, we bloody can. I am going to make a prediction for you this evening, which I've already recorded in a video that's going to go up first thing in the morning, because we are trying to get more videos up for you, because, you know, this VW car 3-day week due to the slump in EV sales. Wow. Anyway, more of your comments. Put them all in there, if you so to speak, as the Bishop said to the actress, and I will get to them. Oh, hang on a second. Why is that not... Hang on a second. Let me just do something. Now, that's really weird. Because I was looking at my computer screen and the live hadn't started. But the live had started on my phone. And we're what, quarter of an hour in? And what on earth is that? Welcome to the chat. What the hell's going on with this channel? There's something really weird. I'd started me stuff. Let's get past that. Max Star, it's me. I'm here. Brilliant, Max Star. Good to have you in the body of the Kirk. The old Bovril. Welcome. And Stuart, I got sweary with the Bishop earlier. Oh, I do. Stuart, please don't tell me you bashed the Bishop. Because, well, it really upsets the nuns. They need to get a grip, really. I'll wait for you. Oh, Amalia says, hey up. Yeah, wrongin'. Thank you, Johnny Ray. Live has defo started for me. And Amalia says, I'm having a Chinese to warm the cockles. Is that the Chinese cockle pickers that normally die in Lancaster? Got to be quick. The moderator, I've polished my beep just in case. Well, I say, 2 hands, Mr. Moderator. Stuart, the Bishop will hear, Rev. Apologies, Stuart, I'll keep it down. So long as you bring me more Jaeger bombs. Retro on his bikes, the storm didn't really happen in Lowestoft. Blimey, Retro, you were Dara was at you. Now, I worked with a fabulous broadcaster called Dara Corcoran when we were at Rock FM and then Air FM in Leeds. I think Dara turned himself into a journalist. Fabulous bloke. He's the only other Dara that I've ever known. Wonderful name, wonderful guy. And then they call a storm after him. And I was thinking, well, that's just not, it's improper. Dara was a nice guy. And then the storm lands. And I'm sick and tired of the weather forecasters and or the media going, oh, we're all going to die. Storm Dara is going to flatten everything. Well, it bloody didn't, because they keep saying this to us. Oh, we're going to get 6 inches this weekend. You should be so bloody lucky. And the snow and the storms, and it's winter. I don't know whether these people have lost their marbles or they've been putting far too much cooking sherry in the trifle, but it was just a bit windy, man. It's winter. Winter weather. 2 nuns in the bath who bend down for the soap. Yeah, why don't they call them storm destruction? I mean, they're just trying to... So, the people that watch this channel, and an au fait with this particular channel, know that we just laugh at the mainstream media, the legacy media, because it's full of shite, and it never tells you the truth. The only thing they never get wrong is the price on the front. It's a bit like Sky News. The old epithet for Sky News back in the 90s and the noughties was never wrong for long. Sky News, never wrong for long, with some butch voice doing the voiceover. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, not parrot-phrasing. English bottle cap. The first day of winter in the Northern Hemisphere is marked by the winter solstice, which occurs on Saturday, December 21st. Ah! So, I was going to say to you, it's December 21st when the nights start getting lighter. Now, I don't know about you. I remember coming home from school, and it's like, oh, it's a bit, to use a good Scots word, dreich, a bit grey, a bit drizzly, a bit... but then the bonus was you'd get up the next morning and the flagstones on the path were always covered in ice. They were always covered in frost, and you could skate your way to school. Now, that's the difference between being when we were kids and now. We're cynical old tarts now, but the joy of waking up and not it being cold or anything else other than, oh, it's frosty, we can slide our way to school. Why can't we do that as adults? Well, probably because we'll break kneecaps and snap ankles, but the joy of just sliding your way to school, it was simple and wonderful. And do we have it now? No, do we? I mean, they grit footpaths because, well, the old ones might slip up and break a hip. I mean, I look forward to getting older and popping a hip, but not by slipping up. If you know what I'm saying. The nuns have just run away. Come back, you wrong'uns. I was only joking. Top of 69. Adrian, you were a bad influence on us. Nurse asked me if I would be watching the King's speech. Charles the Weak. Not a chance. My missus was in fecking tears. Brilliant. Brilliant. Did she say, would one like a happy finish? That's where it come from. Ask Charlie. I mean, can you imagine at a church service, everybody shouting for Charlie? I do hope you're paying attention. The All Bovril, nice one, Karen. Thank you, Karen. Do appreciate it. There's some magnificent Battenburgers this evening, and I haven't even got to last week's Battenburgers. So, it's bloody brilliant. Brilliant. Hang on, in the field to Amalia. Evening. Hope your Chinese brings you great pleasure. So long as they're not the cockle pickers from Lancaster. Did you mean food? Wouldn't like you to be funny in the field. Kathy Harper, Did you never fancy doing TV? Oh, Kathy, do you want me to tell you the story? I have done. You know that dippy mare that went into the jungle. What's her face? The blonde one from The Sun. Jane Moore, or Jane Moo. I once did a telly with her and Nicky Campbell in the East Midlands. They said, "Hey, Adrian, would you like to come and star on our talky Friday night thing? You know, where they get everybody in. It's like a bear pit." And they get everybody in and have a row on a Friday night. So the people coming home from the pub, oh, they're having a row. I'll start chucking stuff at the telly. And Jane Moore's not, bless her, she's not the quickest. So I'm there, kind of riling up the crowd. And I just thought, do you know, I'm just going to shut up. I'm just going to give my lunchtime phone in a plug. So I kind of just veered off, because it's like the old showbiz epithet, don't kid a kidder. So she's trying to ask me questions when I catch her eye. And I have to say that her trouser suit was a little tight. What do they call it? Kamala. So blah 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 blah. And Nicky Campbell was just positioning himself in front of the TV camera to say something, to kind of round it off and do the outro of the show. And I said to her, on my lunchtime phone in on Century 106, 1 through 2 every Monday to Friday. I give it a real big plug. And she was like, oh, he wasn't supposed to say that. How do I stop that? It's live. And Nicky Campbell looks at me, eyeballs me, and goes, oh, I say, another phone-in presenter. Well, I never. And kind of smiles at me. And we go to the green room after. Nicky Campbell couldn't get to me quick enough. Oh, you do a phone-in? I was like, well, yeah. Across the East Midlands. Nottinghamshire, Leicestershire, Derbyshire. Yeah. And we had a jolly old talk. And then fast forward a few years, I get a phone call. Sorry, I get an email while I'm at home in Nottinghamshire. This must have been 2002-ish. And the email was from a Jonathan Sashadoshi from a production company in London. And he went, hello, blah, 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 blah. And I sent him one of those emails that you don't normally send people. It was very impolite, and it basically said, here, mate, what do you want? And if you don't want anything, if this is just flying a kite email, you can foxtrot Oscar. Anyway, there's my number. 10 seconds later, my phone goes, hello, it's Jonathan Sashadoshi. Adrian, how are you? Who are you? Oh, I'm one of the producers on Channel 5. Have you heard of the Matthew Wright show on Channel 5? I said, I'm aware of it, yeah, but don't watch it. Shite. Not the right thing to say. If you pardon the pun, it was intended. And he said, well, will you come down to London and do a demo for us? Do a live demo for us? I said, why would I want to do that? He said, well, it was during the, can you remember when John Leslie was had all that kind of stuff going on around him? A bit like Greg Wallace nowadays. He said, well, we're not sure if, because it was Matthew Wright that outed John Leslie on live TV. And if John Leslie had sued Matthew Wright, then they would have to take Matthew Wright off air, sack him and take him off air. And they were looking for somebody to take over. So I said, oh, all right, then if you pay me expenses, I'll come down and have a play. So I went down, didn't know what was going on. And they said, right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to set it up for half an hour. You'll do live telly for half an hour. And we'll see how it goes. So I did this half hour. They had some production assistant call me in. And I was brutal with her. Brutal. And this is supposed to be live TV. So I was just brutal. I can't say what I said, but she had to go and have a lie down afterwards and a bit of smelling salts. And so we did that. And then Jonathan took me out afterwards. He says, yeah, the producers were watching and we really would like to use you. We really, really would like you to do this. But it's just down to one thing. If John Leslie sues Matthew, then we're going to have to take him off air. And we want to use you on Channel 5. If not, we'll wait and see. Not as brutal as Greg Wallace, but you still had to lie down. You're wrong, Neil. So it ended up where John Leslie didn't sue Matthew Wright. I know John Leslie from ages ago when he was a nightclub DJ in Newcastle, and I was the bloke on the radio. So in answer to somebody's question, do you fancy doing TV? Says Kathy Harper. I do. It would be fabulous, but I think, well, I just would. So long as I can have fun of some kind. But can you imagine the restrictions with kind of like people going, oh, Adrian, you can't say that. Oh, Oxford Oscar. Yes, I can. You're sacked. Brilliant. You can't sack me. I'm sackless. Retro on his bikes. Hibiscus tea, is that gin? No, Retro. It's a very special hibiscus tea. It's hibiscus tea with a Jaeger bomb, courtesy of Stuart. It makes things go with a bit of fizz. Mark Croft, what will be in the King's speech this year? Mark, absolutely bugger all. I mean, can you imagine? Oh, well, we've had a trying year. We tried AI and we tried doppelgangers, but everybody sussed it with Catherine. Everybody knew it wasn't her. As far as me and the missus, well, hopefully I can be her tampon again. If I'm going to explain my jokes to you during this live, it's going to be a bloody long live. I mean, can you imagine? It'll just be cancer. Well, he's not got long, Charles the Weak, has he? He's not. Maybe another year, 18 months. Because he's definitely had cancer. They've definitely treated for him. But if he gets a couple of years more than now, then brilliant. I do, before anybody says anything, Charles will be a bit red-faced. Yeah, it'll be all the wine. So to speak. I would just say I wish the King long life. I wish him good health. I wish him all the joy that he wishes himself, except that bloody thing, whether it's a pen when he's signing any of the forms, that bloody thing. I thought it was wonderful. It makes him human. Not, oh, well, you know, I'm one of the richest bloodlines on planet Earth. I've got so much privilege and wealth. I don't care. No. He was like, oh, that bloody thing. Wonderful. I don't think William's going to be the same. I think William's going to be more stoic like Elizabeth II. And I think William will make a great king. But Charles is like, look, I've seen Harry Enfield playing Charles. And Harry Enfield is more like Charles than Charles is like Charles. So maybe they don't use AI or they don't use lookalikes. Just if and when the time is right and the king shuffles off this mortal coil, just use Harry Enfield. Nobody will tell the difference. Andy Turner says, 40 years in radio. Yes, the face for it. Yeah, tart. So, Retro, yes, fabulous hibiscus. It's got a Jaeger bomb in it, or 2, or 3. Andrew James, blah, blah, Amalia, blah, blah. Phil, you in? Can we send all the Syrians back now? Yes, we bloody can. As Bob the Builder says, can we build it? Yes, we can. So, they can all feck off because, should we get in? No, let me, so welcome to the Theatre of the Mind. Welcome into the body of the Kirk. I'm just trying to get this ugly fizzog right. And, you see, yeah, I say, let me just put it in. Your Honour, let's just give that a press. Technical problems, as ever. Let's go that way. Right. What was I saying? Was I talking about the nuns, or was that just... yes, what the actual feck? It fell out, so to speak, Your Honour. I never touched it. What we're going to say, Retro, I too have a face for radio and a voice for the silent movies. Brilliant, Retro. So I think we'll get into it now, because we've had enough frivolity, and I'm not wearing my glasses anymore. So I will talk about Syria, because I have been talking about certain countries around the world for 2 years on these lives, and I've been telling you every single time what they are trying to do. You'll own nothing and be happy. But the Rothschilds want to run and own all the central banks worldwide. Hang on, what was that? Hibiscus obviously kicking in. Yes, Viv Kenyon. You haven't said good evening, have you, Viv, or have I missed it? So Syria. It just came out of nowhere. Do you not agree? Because it was being bombed to feck by the Russians. The Brits were in there, giving arms and armaments away. The Iranians were in there. Everybody was in there. Oh, I wonder why. I wonder why. And who was paying for all of that? Digital currencies down the line. What they have to do is they have to control the central banks. And this is what I have been telling you for 6 years. The Rothschilds own the banking system, the central banks of virtually every country around the world, except 6. And they would be Syria, Venezuela, Hungary, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and China. Correct, Ray Norton. So Syria is there or thereabouts. So now they've got Syria under the central banking system. Venezuela is almost under the central banking system. So the next time you see any reportage on Hungary, you think, Hungary? Why? Ottomans. So the Ottomans only disappeared 100 years ago. Or the Ottoman Empire only disappeared 100 years ago. That's why we had World War I, because they needed to break the Ottoman Empire up. So they took an excuse and ran with it. Louise Hampson, taxes are paying for it. Well, I'm sure. Viv, thank you. As always, Des Ashton, looks like the Rev's piston broke. That's always my demeanour, Des. So Syria, they saw an opportunity while everybody was being diverted by the Trump and President Brown Pants, brown trousers. So while he was that, they were at it. Assad's disappeared. Seemingly, his aircraft crashed. Bless him. Well, it either crashed or disappeared. One of the two. Was it aliens? Probably. They said that the aliens were going to come and get us. So now they've got Syria under their control. Venezuela's not far away. Iran will be soon. And that'll be part of Trump's job. Russia, well, they're not going to get hold of that central bank for a while. And China has just found, bizarrely, I mean, they must have tripped over it. They found $80 billion worth of gold. I mean, physical gold, 2 miles underground in China. The Chinese are having a bit of a celebration. $80 billion worth of physical gold, 2 miles down in China. Oh. So the Americans are sort of sitting there going, oh, bugger. They weren't supposed to do that. What are we going to do now? Well, China owns most of America's debt, or a major part of the debt. So America was going to try and use crypto to get out of the $36 trillion debt they find themselves in. They can't trade out of it because it's about 120, 130% of GDP. So the only way that America can get out of debt is A, China doesn't call it in, otherwise they are prop effect, and 2, they get into crypto. So Trump is going to be the crypto president. It's going to be a massive step change. And I will say to you, don't worry if you're not into it yet. And don't worry if you don't understand it. Because as we go along, I'll sort of drip feed you bits here to sort of Janet and John things, so that you don't get confused, you don't misunderstand things, you don't understand the context. And it's not too late, because it's FOMO, fear of missing out. It's fine. This run into the Trump presidency is what they call a bull run, a bull market, where things are going to go through the roof. Don't worry about that. Over the next 6 years, it's going to be the thing. They're going to create the system. They're going to create the banks to own it. The banks will control, or certainly the American Treasury will own Bitcoin. But in America tonight, there's something on 60 Minutes. The chief exec officer of Ripple, a company who own XRP and XLM and a couple of other coins that will have a bit of a run over the next few days. So over the next 4 or 5 months, there'll be all this turmoil, there'll be all this movement within the market. Don't worry about it. Just try and learn as much as you can. I wouldn't invest anything at the moment. You've got 6 years to do it. 6 years is going to be the peak. And what will happen in 6 years? Not only will it be wealth, it'll be generational wealth. Remember, Klaus Schwab and the banks have told you you'll own nothing and be happy. So the banks will want to own all of the crypto so you can't get any. And then they'll just exchange it between themselves. XRP is going to be the system by which you can change things. So, in banking, if I wanted to give you some money back in the day, I'd give you a check. Yeah, the check's in the post. And no, it won't come in your mouth. Biggest lie in banking. So you would send them a check. You then get the check. You then go down to the bank. You then deposit the check, and then it would take 3 to 5 days to end up in your account. XRP is going to be used within the system, and this is why it's going through the roof. You can check it. It's going through the roof because they're going to use it so the transfer of monies, wealth, digital currency is going to be almost instantaneous. Whether you're in one country or another, or one banking system or another, XRP is going to be used for the transfer of monies, digital currencies, and wealth. It's going to be instantaneous. So that needs to be part of the central system for banking. So if you look at Syria, just putting the dots together for you, Syria, we want to control that central bank. Venezuela, we want to control that central bank. Once they control as many of the central banks as possible, and Putin this week come out and said there's nothing wrong with crypto, there's nothing wrong with Bitcoin, they're all buying into it. But they don't want you to buy into it because they don't want you to get wealthy. No. You're just a great unwashed, me and you. We can just, the man and woman on the street, feck them, according to the elites. They want the generational wealth. They want trillions in their banks so they can give it to their children, the children. So that's what it's all about. Don't worry about it if you don't understand it. I will try and give you a Janet and John here on a Sunday and a Wednesday as it goes on. Rich get richer, as always, and the poor get poorer. Right, let's get into... I wanted to say thank you to all those that support the channel virtually every life. So, Stuart, thank you very much. More Jaegers incoming. Thank you, Stuart. Wonderful. I do have a rather large bottle downstairs. I'm not quite sure how full it is, though, now. It's a couple of years old. I wanted to mark today, because it's the 8th of December. I wanted to mark the day. And I know what you like for music. I know sometimes you like a bit of music in the live. So now that we've worked out Syria and the central banking system, and all the Syrians over here, they're not going to be persecuted in their home country anymore. So they can't say, I know what they are going to say. They can't say, well, if I go back home, I'll be persecuted. They're all going to come out as gay. They are. Because then they'll go, well, LGBTQ, CNN, BBC, MSNBC, I can't go back home. I bet you can't. Too late. We've booked your flight. You're going. So I don't know why Starmer isn't like, oh, I can start flying all the Syrians back. And then the people will go, oh, that Keir Starmer, he can be trusted. Not. Is he scaring you yet? So the Syrian situation is finely balanced. Is that Channel or Chanel? This is the only I support with Super Chats. Thank you, Stuart. You're a very kind man. So let's talk about today. What happened December the 8th, 1980? Can you remember where you were and where you heard about John Lennon's assassination? He's still not, Mark Chapman's still not been let out of jail. Was he MK Ultra, do you think? 8th of December, 1980, John Lennon was shot dead. And can you imagine Yoko Ono? Now, she's not the favourite person in the world. And I mean, people blame her for the breakup of the Beatles. But she's had to deal, for 44 years, she's had to deal with having her husband shot next to her. So what's your memory of that day? let's have a chat in the comments. What was your memory of the day, or of that week? Was Lennon a hero? Were the Beatles? Are you old enough to remember the Beatles as a group? Sorry, as a band. I do apologise. As a band, they're not a group. A group doesn't play the instruments. A band does. And to kind of tack on to the end, Mac Star MK Ultra 100%. I believe so, Mac. I mean, Lennon was a thorn in the side of the American establishment, of the military-industrial complex. All that bedding and saying, give peace a chance, all of that was, I mean, he was a beautiful soul and very sensitive, because he was getting opportunities left, right and centre from Hollywood actresses, you know, chucking themselves at him, and McCartney and the Beatles, but he turned them down. And he was, I would like to think, apart from the Lost Weekend with May Pang, he was faithful to Yoko Ono virtually from the time they met. But where were you? What were you doing December the 8th? Even Stephen, not old enough to remember it. Barely remember Wings as a group, fill you in. Louise Hampson, I was only 3, I can't remember. Oh, that was me thinking I knew my core audience. I will tell you that at the time, because obviously I started life young, and I was only 2 at the time, but I was at college, because I'm a motor mechanic by trade. I'm a motor vehicle engineer by trade. Served my apprenticeship, got all my indentures and everything, and I was at college. And Wearside College used to have a day release thing where we would try and go and learn stuff, and we had to do a week there during our apprenticeship. And I was going into the cafe, the canteen, and it was heaving with loads of people. It was buzzing. And I went in to buy like a sandwich or something for a break. And I heard these guys saying, he's been shot. He's been shot. And I was like, who's been shot? And then they started talking about the Beatles. And it was multiple conversations going on at the same time. The whole place was reacting to, it must have been in the, I'm not quite sure what time John Lennon was shot, but I just remember hearing it and just not being able to concentrate. Lennon was always my favourite Beatle. I mean, they were a fabulous group. You know, they came up when just after I was born. I'm a 60s child, and their early songs were just fabulous. And Terry Wookfit, stop. Bad Wolf Project. Interesting fact, my late mother was best friend with John's first wife, Cynthia, at school, and was one of her bridesmaids. No way. Johnny Ray says, oh yes, the Lennon Association. 44 years ago today, I was 10 and off school sick. I was watching Rainbow on ITV about 12:10 and saw the words ITN Newsflash appear on the TV. That must have been lunchtime when I was in college. Thank you for that, Johnny Ray. Dizzy Lizzie, I was 14 at the time and a huge Lennon fan. Heard it on the morning radio and was devastated. 44 years. So more time has passed since John Lennon was shot 8th today, 1980, than he actually lived. And it was one of those real pit of your stomach feeling. Tom Harney says, I was working on a building site as a roof insulator. I was 20 and the radio was my companion. I remember it was Beatles and Lennon music all day, sad but sort of marvellous at the same time. I know the way the Americans reacted to it with Strawberry Fields in New York and what they wanted to do. And it was... He completed Double Fantasy and was about to release it, or had it just been released. He'd done the interview with Andy Peebles for Radio 1. So he was just on the up again. Double Fantasy that Christmas, I know. I bought it too. I still have it. Still have the original. Stephen Hall, Lennon was the best. I've never played the album, so it's in mint condition. I don't know why I've done that, but I just have, because on the on the day it happened, I couldn't concentrate. It was, as someone said earlier, Julie Pennington, still waiting. Soul Rebel, far more effect on me than Elvis in 77. Interesting, Soul Rebel. Yeah, Elvis was, it was odd because Elvis was the Americans. He belonged to America. Lennon was our son. Lennon was us. Lennon changed the world. Lennon and McCartney and the Beatles, to give everybody due credit, they changed the world. They changed the music biz. They changed everything. And they were ripped off massively. I mean, the record company and the merchandising, people were making billions. And eventually, somebody sold off Northern Songs, Lennon and McCartney's publishing, to Michael Jackson, of all people. And the estate won't give it up. Won't give it up. I don't think has McCartney got Northern Songs back? But that day, as you're saying, you ain't missed much of Yoko singing on that album. Brilliant. I don't, no intention. I mean, I don't want to disrespect the lady, because from what I gather, she's not very well. She's in a wheelchair. That's why Sean is out promoting the album. And I don't know why he's called himself Sean Ono Lennon, because it's Sean Lennon. His mum and dad, in my view, and I'm allowed it, but then again, he's allowed to call himself whatever he wants. Julie Pennington, I'm a newbie. Apparently, I am supposed to be getting my cherry popped. Julie, I've done it 3 times for you tonight. Blimey. Lucky. Julie, welcome to the Body of the Kirk. We tend to take a look at what's going on in the world. We have a very unique view on things. We're more than just the headlines on this channel. And I'm sure everybody will make you welcome, because it's a community rather than just a channel that people stare at. So I want to sort of move that on. You can tell your Lennon stories in the chat, Wiggy videos. You want another one? Every week, Wiggy. Tom Harney's McCartney got the rights back, did he? Oh, right, okay. George Harrison was my favourite Beatle. And bizarrely, George Harrison's songs are the most streamed of all the Beatles canon. Something in the Way She Moves, Here Comes the Sun, they are, and Here Comes the Sun was played at my wedding, because it's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song. So but then again, Lennon and McCartney, 350 odd massive, huge hits, all the albums, they were churning them out, at least one a year. I mean, they were prodigious. But the kids now that are into Taylor Swift have no clue about the might of the Beatles and Lennon and McCartney. I mean, if you watch the film Get Back, there's Ringo and George. They're waiting for John, who'd obviously had to lie in again. So they were waiting for him. And Paul McCartney is just picking at a guitar, and he comes up with, was it Get Back? It was one of the songs from the Abbey Road album, and he's just literally playing about with the guitar, and you can feel it build into one of their classic hits, and he's just mucking about with it. They just happen to have caught it on film. Karina Jane says, my late Dan loved the Beatles. I played Let It Be at his funeral. Fabulous song. Fabulous, fabulous. I mean, there's a song from the Beatles for every occasion. And Let It Be is in the times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me. And Mary was Paul McCartney's mother. I mean, can you imagine would I have had the wherewithal, or would you have had the wherewithal to be able to write a song about your mum that had died recently? Ooh. But then again, most great artists, they mine the depths of their emotions. And it's how they relate those emotions that we find any contemporary resonance or any validation of who we are. But Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And he got it in a dream. Jesus. he tells the story beautifully. I've seen many an interview where he's told that story. But it's just to have the privilege to have grown up in a time where things were very simple, not like they are now. I wouldn't thank you for growing up now in the noughties in the last 25 years. Just wouldn't. But Beatles songs. So, I wanted to ask you a question. And this is where I know that you love it. Tune In is a great read, Adrian. What's that, Soul Rebel? Is it a music mag? Tune In. Is that not... That's not the app that you can listen to the radio stations on, is it? Tell me if that's a magazine, Soul Rebel. This song is what we get here on this channel. Give Me Some Truth. Thank you, Stuart. Wiggy Videos, they wrote so many great songs, and then Ringo comes out with Octopus in the Garden. I know, but look, Ringo was the voice of Thomas the Tank. That's not a euphemism either. So can you imagine? I mean, he will go down not only as a Beatle, but he was the voice of Thomas the Tank. And how great is his voice as Thomas the Tank? It's going to make me cough. Happy finish again. No Beatles. No, the lads from Manchester. Leah, thank you. Jackie Glasgow, saw Hard Day's Night with my big sis in the 60s. Oh, my mum took me to see that. And it's... I mean, bless them. The Beatles were like, how do you stay so thin? Oh, it's all this running away from the women. Bollocks. If there'd not been so any kind of drugs culture in the 60s, there would have been no Beatles. I mean, they were playing the bars in Hamburg. It must have been Speed. There were big weed imbibers, so to speak. John was hooked on heroin at one point, on horse. So it's like Glasgow, you know, the ports, the drugs are shipped in. I don't know how they kept the Beatles' image clean, but it benefited other people to make billions of pounds off their backs. So, as Julie Pennington says, how old are we all? Not old enough, Julie. Well, we're old enough to know better, but young enough to enjoy it. Leah, Oasis, Vixtex, Houston. Hang on, what? Oh, sorry, Leah, the lads from Manchester, the Gallagher brothers. They loved the Beatles and a bit of Slade. So you can hear all of those influences. But then again, so the Beatles had influences. Little Richard was the influence. No, I'm not going to try and sing it. Elvis, who was a ginge, apparently, and then saw Tony Curtis in the film and went, I want hair like that. And then he got the slick back there, and it looked really dark, but he was a ginge. Hang on, Kathy Harper, 66. Good age, Kathy. Even Stephen, 42. I'll be old when I'm 64. Yeah, when I'm 64. God, blimey. And Lennon, he was once interviewed back when he was in his 20s. Can you imagine? These boys were making these songs when they were in their early 20s. They were writing some of this when they were teenagers. Can you imagine the talent of coming up with these songs? And it was the record company and the producers that were saying, well, you need to do that, and you need to do that, and you need to do that. So it was the perfect storm almost. But I'm going to ask you, we're all getting your age. We're all, we're all about, so the data within this channel tells me roughly how old people are that view this. That's why you get some of the grumpy old tarts that come on and just grumpy for grumpy's sake, bless them, probably single, so don't get out much. But it tells me that my audience is 35 plus, although there are a few under sort of 14, 25s that watch the channel, but the majority are 35 pluses. And the super serving audience is sort of 54 onwards. So that's why I kind of bring news in the way that I do. And it allows a community to grow around what I present. And I present what I know, which is the last 40 years in media. Julie Pennington, not single, happily divorced. No, I didn't mean you, Julie. I meant some of the commenters on some of the other videos who are evidently just grumpy old tarts. No. Everybody that comments within the commenting of this particular live, you're not grumpy at all. You're all very much welcome to the body of the Kirk. But I want to get to, so we have an audience that understands, I would suggest, vinyl. Have you ever bought vinyl? 1 for yes, 2 for no. What's Amalia said now? Ooh, Lennon inspired by Buddy Holly. I think it was the, you see, no, my audience. So I'm asking you, have you ever owned vinyl? 1 for yes, 2 for no. And everybody's like, oh, yeah. Brilliant. So, if you've owned vinyl, have you owned, oh, still do, oh, Viv Kenyon, in the field, still buys it. I've had a few vinyl disease. The celibate sinner, you utter wrong. Very early 80s, though, says Mad Matt UK. So would you agree that there's a certain amount of romance attached to the sound of vinyl? Not necessarily sure what kind of record player you would have played it on, or can you listen to us, me and you, talking about record players and vinyl? All the kids would be like, what's that? Oh, me too, Andrew James. I love to rummage in charity shops for vinyl. Honestly, the new Mrs. Allen, she won't, if I see a vinyl shop, now, in my teenage years, I spent all of my apprentice money, all the money that I earned in my apprenticeship buying vinyl, literally every single penny. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, bought vinyl. Was that the old Adamant song? Don't drink, don't smoke, what do you do? I buy vinyl, mate. So all my money went on vinyl. And there's a romance to it all, whether it be from the 60s or the 70s or the 80s, and then we kind of get into late 80s and CDs appear. And now people are like, oh, have you seen me CD? It's, well, it's nugget. And I have a promo copy of the Beatles at the BBC. And I was working at the BBC and it was just chucked out. And I was like, oh, that's a Beatles promo. God, I'll retire and that'll be worth millions. Anyway, I looked at the actual disc itself and it's got something called CD cancer. And it is such a thing. CD cancer it kind of is like a flower pattern. It just eats all the data so that the laser can't read it. But a piece of vinyl from 60, 70 years ago, you can still play it on a turntable. So before I get into all the other juicy stuff, we're going to play a game. So I know that you love your vinyl. I know that Paulie Galtieri CDs are making a comeback too. Yeah, because once you're sort of 20, 30 years out, there's a romance to it. But, you know, vinyl is really, all the hipsters are like, ew, I have a turntable. Turntable? What the bloody hell's that, man? Well, you know, one of those things you play vinyl on. It's a record player, man. It was always cool if you went to an auntie or uncle and they had a record player. I remember going and having Sunday lunch at one of my aunts and uncles, and they didn't have much vinyl, but they had a record player. Oh, hours and hours and hours and hours. So I kind of get your feeling for vinyl and music. So now I'm going to ask you a single question. It's not a 1 for yes or a 2 for no. It's actually, Adrian, do you still have a gramophone for your vinyl? Not a gramophone, but it's a Technics SL 1200s or 1210s, if you wish, with a vinyl, the vary speed on it. That most nightclub DJs, it was kind of de rigueur. All the best nightclubs had that turntable. But one of the things that I love doing is mixing, because obviously I also worked in nightclubs as a DJ for a while, and I love mixing records together and mucking about with them and taking 2 records and making one, if you know understand what I'm saying. So Andrew James says, do you collect Beatles bootlegs? I don't have any. I don't have any. I know I did have a picture disc of Sergeant Pepper a long, long time ago. I'm talking about, must have been the late 70s. Somebody gave it to me. It's shite. No, it's just the Beatles. The Sergeant Pepper, it's worth a bloody fortune. I mean, a fortune. And I also had Wings, Back to the Egg on picture disc. I went into my usual record store and I was trying to win the heart of a girl. SL 1200's never been bettered. I agree with you, Nicholas. And I was trying to win her heart. So her brother was massively into Wings. So I walked into this record store one day and I saw this Back to the Egg picture disc. And I said to the guy, is that the only one you got? Yeah. Just come in. How much? £4. So I bought it and sort of tried to win her over by, does your brother like Wings? Yeah. Oh, he can have this. Do you know that picture disc for Back to the Egg is now worth thousands of pounds? I literally mean thousands. Who said that? PDM, no. Don't delete it. Because I'm going to tell you a story. Picture discs. And then there were shape discs. But I want to, I don't want to go down that route. We can do that another live. But I want to ask you, it's a real pointed question. ELO sound like the Beatles? Of course they do. That's why What's-His-Face from ELO produced the Travelling Wilburys and George Harrison. Two Gits in a Car. Good to have you back, Two Gits in a Car. Lynn LP12 is by far the best deck ever. Ooh, interesting. PT Ham says, Gary Newman. I'm so glad you mentioned that. I interviewed Gary Newman once, and I will tell you without fear of contradiction, he was one of the loveliest interviewees I've ever interviewed in 40 years in radio. He was absolutely charming. And I know he got it tight from all the other people. Oh, you just imitating Bowie. Well, Gary Newman was Gary Newman, and he's continued making albums and music. And if you ever see this, Gary, the interview we did back in the 80s was just, and I've got some signed stuff by him somewhere. So he turned up at, I think it was still Radio Tees at that point. And his dad, they were doing this tour from Scotland all the way down the northeast coast, and then they were probably going over to Manchester and doing like a radio tour to promote his stuff. And he was saying that, and I'm sure that I've still got that interview on tape somewhere. No way. Alan Little says Gary has his daughter in his current band. Wonderful. Saw Gary Newman in Leeds a few months back. Fab, says Viv Kenyon. Honestly, his music is a little avant-garde. You have to have a certain taste for it. But as an artist, as he's evolved, he was saying to me, he set his own record label up, and most of the royalties he was getting from his early work was paying to keep up the record company for the new artists that he wanted to bring through. And he turned up at Radio Tees and he said to me, he said, "Oh, I'm really sorry I'm late." He said, "The exhaust's gone on the car." And I was like, "No way." I said, "Where's the car?" He said, "Oh, my dad's got it outside. We're going to try and get it. After I've done this, I'm going to try and go and get it fixed." And he literally was just like one of the lads in the pub. So I said, "Look, let's get a coffee. We'll get into the studio. I've got the studio set up and then we'll do the interview." And the interview took, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, wasn't long. And in all my time, and I've interviewed some major names and big stars, out of all of them, Gary Newman is right up there. Possibly my number one, definitely in my top three, because he was just such a nice bloke. And I don't mean to use nice in, because it's just a shit word, nice. But he was just real, authentic, had stories, happy to chat, absolute master of his game. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I won't have a word said against him. Gary Newman is 13 days older than Gary Oldman, which makes Newman the old man and Oldman the Newman. Brilliant, Nicholas. You tart. Stuart, lovely bloke. Tell you what, fit down to earth and honest. I know. And look, 40 years later, after Cars and Our Friends Electric, he's still doing it. 40 odd years, still doing it. And I once went to a wedding and had was just talking to a random who was on the table. You know how you do, you just make polite conversation at somebody else's wedding. And she said, "Oh yeah, this is my husband." Nice to meet you. And she said, "Do you not think he looks like somebody?" I was like, "No, who?" She said, "Do you not think he looks like Gary Newman?" Does a bit. She said, "I met him at a concert. Met him at a Gary Newman concert. The guy didn't realise that he looked like Gary Newman, and because she was a massive Gary Newman fan, and because he looked like Gary Newman, she married him. It was the only reason, according to her that day, the only reason she married him was because he looked like Gary Newman. What a boy. What a marriage." And I'm sure they're still married, and I'm sure they're still together. But what a story. So, PT Ham, thank you for the nudge and allowing me to tell the story. So, here's the question. What is your number one? What is your number one album on vinyl? It has to be a vinyl album. It can't be anything else. What is your number one vinyl album? Stick it in the comments. And all original 70s punk albums. Oh, Amalia. In the fecking bin. God only knows what they would have been worth now too. I know. I've got some. I've got 999. I don't know what album. I've got loads of stuff that's on white label promos, because you just get them sent in radios, in radio stations. I've got some rock stuff that's Bon Jovi and kind of that era, white label stuff. I mean, I don't even know where they are anymore. I gave a load of stuff away. I literally had a vinyl record collection at one point of 80,000 pieces. I'll say that again, 80,000 pieces of vinyl that I had sent from record companies and just picked up on journeys, and I gave most of it away to my hospital radio station. So let's see some of these albums. 52nd Street by Billy Joel, says Stephen Parker. Max Dart, Dark Side of the Moon. The White Album, Dizzy Lizzy. In Excess, Kick. Oh, Fatal Racing Driver. Terry Wookfit. Blondie, Parallel Lines. Yeah, beauty. Oh, hang on. The Specials, says Nicholas. Nice. Alice Cooper, Killer, mainly because it was the first album I bought. Brilliant, Tim. Rich, hang on, what's the Bad Wolf Project said? It went too quick there. Steve Barnes, Night of the Opera Queen. Oh, the early Queen. I mean, the anthemic stuff in the 80s is fine, but early Queen. Johnny Cash, Gone Girl, great album. Andrew James, Amalia Grassi, I love Scary Monsters. And Super Creeps, Bowie. Interesting. Stuart, I'm out of this. I've never had vinyl. Oh, Stuart, you've no idea what you... Everyone that's had vinyl will know this. And I don't know whether you would listen to an album, like one side all the way through, or you would mix the tracks up, or how you would play your stuff and what kind of setup you had. But there's nothing better than that as you put the stylus on the record, that little click as it gets into the groove and then start playing. It's just it takes you on a journey. It's not the same as like press play on a CD or Spotify. It doesn't really take you on a journey. How many times have you ever sat down, new album, you get it home, you unwrap it, take the cellophane off, and you just put the album on and you put the needle on, and then you sit back and read the album covers? Whether it's a double album or a single album, you just devour it. It's like having a banquet. It's like having an extraordinary, wonderful meal. That's what vinyl did for you. I mean, if you look at like the Funkadelic and Parliament and the funky stuff, they had really weird and I'm sure drug-induced artwork. Whether somebody mentioned Blondie and Parallel Lines, I mean, she was breathtakingly beautiful at the time, but was I don't think she got how beautiful she was. She was very unassuming. Debbie Harry, and had done some very choice things in her youth. But you kind of, as well as your ears having an eargasm, your eyes would be feasted upon, whether it was Dark Side of the Moon, and you just looked at that cover. It's one of the most iconic covers of music in the world, in the history of mankind. For thousands of years, they'll still look at it and go, how beautiful is that? How simple is that? How utterly beguiling is that? And you get that from the album. ELO, Out of the Blue, a great album cover as well. The White Album, Beatles. Yeah, Vix Tex. I've just melted one of my... Oh, no! Alan, what you done? I've just melted one of my Cure albums. Oi, 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 oi. Sorry to hear that, Alan. Amalia used to carry my albums under my arm back on the bus. It was tribal. It was, Amalia. It was, and if somebody saw you carrying some van, they'd be going like, "Oh, you've been buying new albums," and you would strike up a conversation. I'm sure, like Amalia, I've done that a million times on the buses. You'd carry the new albums as a badge of honor almost, and you would, "Oh, are you into that?" Yeah. Or like the punk stuff, you couldn't go, "Oh, I'm a big fan of the Pistols." I mean, if you had the early Pistols stuff, oh, blimey, you could retire on millions now. But they were much simpler times. And it's the punk stuff where councils were banning the Pistols from playing. Not only was I into the Pistols, I was into the Stranglers, Raticus, Norvegas. Oh, there's an album for you. And the album cover's fabulous. But they wouldn't let them play anywhere. And like, because, there was the Angelic Upstarts in the Northeast where they would get a pig's head from the local slaughterhouse and take it with them. So I remember walking past this pub in Sunderland and there was a pig's head on the floor. I was like, hang on, it's Sunderland. Where's that come from? So I had a game of footy with me and the boys with the pig's head. And then somebody said, "Oh, here, bring it in here." And it was the Angelic Upstarts playing was it the L29 in Sunderland? But it was, as Amalia says, it was tribal. So it doesn't matter what you were into musically, there was a tribe for it. So whether you were, prog rock or progressive, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, that's why it stayed in the charts for years and years and years. And you look at the Beatles. When you've got Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran going, well, they've sold more than the Beatles. Oh, had a way and shite, man. It really gets my goat. Because there are more, the access to music is much easier. It's much simpler. They're saying, oh, well, the most streamed artist in 2024 is Taylor Swift. She can't hold a fucking candle to the Beatles. She can't hold a candle to Led Zeppelin. She can't hold a candle to some of the great bands that have come from this sceptred isle. Whether it's London, whether it's Manchester, whether it's Liverpool, whether it's the northeast of England or Yorkshire, Human League, the kind of electro stuff that came out of Yorkshire, the Bristol sound. We've made some insanely awesome music in this country. So, in my view, Taylor Swift can Hadaway and shite. I would rather chop my cock off than listen to the shite that she produces. In my view, and it's only in my view. But if I was given two albums and one was Led Zeppelin or one was, I don't know, something out of the 80s, Gary Newman, or something from the 60s, would I listen to Taylor Swift? I literally would bang my head against a brick wall, then listen to that shite. Are you aware that it has been proved that Taylor Swift has been miming for all of her current tour? Behave, Martin, has she? Oh, I mean, have you seen Beatles 64 that's just gone on Disney Plus? It's a film, and a lot of the film has already been shown in various different areas. But Martin Scorsese has put this film together, Beatles 64. If you can see a copy of it, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. And the Beatles played Shea Stadium when they didn't have enough amplification to get the music heard over the screams of the women that were in Shea Stadium. I mean, how wonderful is that? And then you had, acts like Motorhead and The who said, oh, we're the loudest band in the world ever. If Taylor Swift's been miming, now I'm sure she's a lovely woman. I'm sure she's what? Sorry, got a hair stuck on my tongue. Not at first. So I'm sure she's a lovely woman. She's not going to have kids, is she? 35-year-old virgin. But these artists that would mine their pain and would communicate via their music their pain, and you can, whether it's punk or whether it's glam rock or whether it's soul. I mean, you know, I'm a fan of real deep soul music where you literally feel the artist tear their heart out of their chest and offer it to you. Andy Turner, as a kid recording the top 40 and Christmas Top of the Pops, there was fights in my house. My dad hated it. And so on a Thursday, when my day at college would come to an end about 6:30. There was a place in Grangetown in Sunderland, the pub, literally 100 yards. I would, and it would take me all night to get home because it was like 3 buses to get to home from where I was. I would not go home until I'd gone into the pub, obviously legal tender, over 18, Your Honour, and I would watch Top of the Pops. I would religiously watch Top of the Pops to see if there was any new acts coming in, anything that I needed to know. So from being 17-year-old, studying and listening to radio techniques and radio shows and pop music and buying all of the varying music newspapers, whether it was NME, Sounds, Melody Maker, I'd buy all 3 every week and devour every single piece of information in those newspapers every single week. And then I'd buy Music Week that goes out to the record store, so you can get sort of midweeks and the top 100 and the varying different charts. Music is just, you either get it or you don't. I'm a classically trained cellist. I was going to show you me Fender jazz bass, but maybe another time. Is that the one that was opposite Machine Mart? Hang on, where's Machine Mart in Grangetown? No, I don't think so. The Ashbrook. It was the Ashbrook in Grangetown, which was literally just up the road, maybe a couple of 100 yards from Wearside College. Covered in newsprint, Adrian, laugh out loud. The Flying Pickets as Melting Snowmen on Top of the Pops. Yeah. I mean, I've said to you before, it was a real, when you were part of a tribe and punk came out. I remember being at my grandparents on my mum's side for Top of the Pops, and I was glued to the telly. There was these. This must have been, when did Boy George and Culture Club come out? Was it 82, 83? And whenever Boy George first did Top of the Pops, I remember my granddad was getting ready to go to the pub for a bit of a large one, and he looked at Boy George and he went, "Who's she?" And in the field, out? Yeah, out. It was a wrong one. My granddad on my mum's side used to go on the cobbles bare knuckle and would fight all comers for a shilling to make money to feed his family. So my granddad was former military and literally would go on the cobbles bare knuckle and beat up people to make money for to feed his family. Caring, understanding, 90s type, all the same. So I used to like the old grey whistle test. Me too, Martin, but you had to be, in my view, you had to be a little bit more sophisticated in your musical tastes, because there would be bits and pieces on there that I would think, oh, that's just a bit. But if you look back 50 years at what they were playing on Whistle Test, it's like, whoa, like Lynyrd Skynyrd. At the time you think, who's this, like long-haired Yanks? But you look back and go, whoa, they had Lynyrd Skynyrd on Old Grey Whistle Test. And then on New Year's Eve, they would have like a best of the year, or they would have Whistle Test playing for hours, and they would have those really weird cartoons, the Plasticine Men and stuff, that they would play all this Andy Turner and the Tube. I had the good fortune of going to the Tube a few times. I've said this to you before, to go up and do interviews from like Teesside up to Newcastle, and we were allowed in around the sound checks, and we could go and watch the bands, but it was media only. It wasn't the public. And one of the best things or best bands I ever saw was Rufus and Shaka Khan. Breathtakingly tight and as funky could be. And I literally, I could feel there's nothing better, either in a nightclub or in a live setting, there's nothing better than having the bass hit you right here. And Shaka Khan's band, Rufus, were playing, and it was literally, the bass was going right through my body. And I was having an out-of-body experience. I was hearing music and seeing colours, and Shaka Khan's voice, my God. Now, Shaka Khan is passed over for people like Anita Baker or Whitney or Celine or some of the others. But I'm telling you now, Shaka Khan has one of the best female voices there has ever been. And I was witness to it in the Tube. Amazing. So, Hocus Pocus by Focus. Wow. When Hocus Pocus... was it Focus, the band name, or Hocus Pocus? I can't remember. Weren't they Dutch? Twisted Sister on the Tube were absolutely brilliant. I've got... let me tell you. Hang on. It's on a wall that you can't see. But this, I had Twisted Sister sign for me at the Tube. Honestly, I have lived... Musically, I've lived such a privileged life. And Dee Snider, I mean, comparatively, was a big lad. A big lad, especially with those boots on. So, Shaka Khan, Louise Hampson. Bob Harris presents Sounds of the 70s now. Is that on Radio 2? So we'll get back to the albums again, because again, I'm kind of using this to get to know you, to get a flavour of who you are, because the comments are my only route or access to you when we do these lives. So your number one album by a long stretch, I would say that, I mean, I did think about this earlier. I could have chosen any of the Zeppelin albums. I could have chose any of the Beatles albums for lots of different reasons. I could choose Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. My music teacher, I went to Castleview School. It's not a school anymore. It's just a Borstal now, I think. So Castleview School, Rumours, Fleetwood Mac. Oh, there's an album and a half. There is an album. And do you know when The Planets, Gustav Holst, beautiful English bottle cap for a classically trained cellist. That is a thing of beauty. I remember Shalimar on the Tube, the body popping and moonwalk was huge. It was Fill You In. Jeffrey Daniels doing that. Jeffrey Daniels, Hewitt was the main singer, and the female, so Howard Hewitt was the main singer. Jeffrey Daniels was the dancer, as was, I can see her, but I can't remember her name. They were just two dancers from American Soul Train that they got in to back up Howard Hewitt. And it was Jeffrey Daniels popping and locking that Tony Basil had brought to this country originally. But Jeffrey Daniels, I remember him doing Talk of the Pops, and you just looked at this thing that was going on the telly, and you're thinking, how's he doing that? I mean, we'd seen Bowie doing his version of Marcel Marceau, but I saw this thing and I was like, he's from another planet. How's he doing that? It defies gravity. What's he doing? And my parents were like, what's going on with you? So I look at this. This is this guy. He's dancing, and it's amazing. And it was Jeffrey Daniels dancing. I mean, I remember buying Shalimar Uptown Festival in the early days, and they weren't even big before they started having their hits. And it was Jeffrey Daniels who was dancing with Michael Jackson in one of them. Was it not Beat It? Jeffrey Daniels was a dancer in one of Michael Jackson's videos, but he was such an insanely awesome dancer. With the Powerboat video on the Thames. Who was that? Basically Rollers, Greatest Hits. Brilliant. Echoes, Bunny Woman. Wonderful. Deep Purple in concert. Oh, Smoke on the Water. I mean, these songs, you're quoting albums, and I'm getting I can associate with your passion and I can associate with your feelings of how you felt when you heard these songs for the first time. I'm telling you, the kids are being shortchanged nowadays. And it wouldn't surprise me if the kids that are being born now, if their parents have got any kind of vinyl collection and a record player, they will get into music that's 50 or 60 years old and not of their generation, because their generation are being shortchanged. The record companies are obviously making money, but the artists that are coming through are no longer artists. They're not 360 artists. They might play live stuff. They might use auto-tune. They might not be able to sing, but they have an image. Jedward, anyone? How do I get onto live chat? Exactly that. You're on the live chat, man. You're wrong. Pink Floyd, The Wall, or Dark Side of the Moon. Ooh, The Wall was a bit straight. And Bob Geldof in the movie didn't work for me. I'm not quite sure why they hired him, but it didn't work for me. We will get to. I was going to talk about 40 years of Live Aid, because I've worked out why there was so much publicity around it. The kids seem to like my choice in the club jukebox. Brilliant, Alan. Brilliant. Jukeboxes now. Where can you go for a jukebox unless it's on Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to a laptop and somebody's got like a million songs? How do you differentiate between a jukebox or a playlist somewhere? I mean, I know I've had youngers in this family. We've said to them, oh, just play something on Spotify. Oh, dear Lord. And I'm like, you think Justin Bieber was quality? And their choice in music is a bit... So I'll say, do you want to hear some Led Zeppelin? Oh, Adrian, you're so old. I know, but do you want to hear some Led Zeppelin? Or do you want me to play some Beatles? Or do you want me to play some Thin Lizzy? Me and the boys are wondering how you and the girls are getting home from here tonight. The B-side to Whiskey in the Jar. Check it out. You can't say B-side now. You know what BW and CW means on a 7-inch vinyl record? It means backed with or covered with. Use that in your next pub quiz, because hardly anybody knows. I've showed them the inner, the inner of a 7-inch single that they used to use on jukeboxes. I've shown somebody that and gone, what's that? Dunno. It's the inside of... I'm not asking Alexa. Alan, no. Alexa, who's the greatest rock band of all time?
My favourite is Napalm Death.
Napalm Death? Alexa, you tart. Napalm Death. Where did she get Napalm Death from? I mean, I know Napalm Death, but blimey. Alexa, name me your #1 rock album.
I couldn't find any rock albums on Spotify.
That'd be right. Shite. All right, then. So I could have chosen Beatles, Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, because I thought about this before I came on air. I could have... my favourite soul, I could go back to Aretha and Otis. I could go back to Marvin. Do you know that What's Going On is over 50 years old? How scary is that? Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? And some of the songs on that album are still prescient nowadays. David Bowie, 50 years ago. But I would have chosen, simply because I was working in a pub in Sunderland as a DJ for like £2.50 a week, and I only worked it so I could buy a new album a week. It would be Earth, Wind and Fire. I Am, with Boogie Wonderland on it, and In the Stone. I've got every Motown Chartbuster LP. Blimey, Alan. Fred, yeah, I wouldn't say that we're all getting old. I would say we're all becoming a bit more discerning in our tastes, because we have experience and context of, would you go for the Specials or Madness or Buster Blood Vessel? Or would you go for Rock Light, that kind of came out in the 80s, stadium perm haired rock? Or would you go for really deep, grungy Led Zeppelin? Or would you go for the really melodious and groundbreaking Beatles? Or would you go for... Was the Thin Lizzy album Moonlight? Was it Moonlight? I'm trying to think. So I've got framed albums on my wall that you can't see, and I'm not turning this around. But somebody said Tubular Bells. I've got Tubular Bells, the original album, hanging on my wall with a vinyl inside. So as I say, this Twisted Sister is. I don't know whether you can see that. It's got $1.99 for that 12-inch. It was in my record collection, and they went, "Oh, Adrian, do you want to go up to the Tube and see Twisted Sister?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I got up there. I was like, "Lads, you couldn't. Would you mind?" Just as proof that I interviewed them. And like, "Oh yeah, sign. But I'd bought that a 12-inch single for $1.99. I bet you it would cost you like 20 quid now. Thin Lizzy, the live album, was it called Moonlight? Phil Lynott, and the only reason I got a Fender Jazz bass black is because Phil Lynott played a black Fender Jazz bass. Some of the stuff. So I would, and back in the 90s, there's a guy called Maxwell, and Urban Hang Suite it's his opus magnus, in my view. It's just beautifully created. Was that $1.79, not $1.99? Jesus, my eyesight's gone. Hang on, who said that? Rich, you're more observant than me. $1.79. I'm doing you out of 20p. Live and Dangerous. Thank you, Tom. My sister has the solid silver Tubular Bells offer in the Sunday Times. No way. Stephen Hall, still have the War of the Worlds album, which I bought with my possibly pocket money. Andrew James, first concert I went to was Gary Moore, 16. He was a boy. He could play. He could definitely play. Soul Rebel, Flip of the Boys are back in town. Emerald, Flip of the Boys are back in town. No, I used to go to a castle. Witten Castle near Bishop Auckland. We had a family used to go there, and the jukebox downstairs had loads of Lizzie. It was loads of rock because all the locals used to come down, and they were all kind of they were rock boys, and they would always not play Whiskey in the Jar. They would always play Me and the Boys. As in, me and the boys are wondering how you and the girls are getting home from here tonight. That's the first line for the Thin Lizzy. I liked acid jazz in the 90s, like Incognito, and was listening to Ragga and Jungle. Wow, fill you in. Incognito with Jocelyn Brown, Always There. The cover of the Ronnie Laws, Always There. What a song. What a tune. And you know, Jocelyn Brown is very... I believe she should have been more famous and should be revered and respected as one of the greatest singers of all time. Rich, remember the singles they gave away with magazines, a square or of a floppy disk? I do. And I remember the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I got sent a 12-inch single by the record company, and it had socks attached to it. And a publicity photo with, socks on cocks. The Red Hot Chili Peppers were walking. I think it was a play on Abbey Road. The Beatles walking across Abbey Road. They in this picture they were walking with now on except these socks, and you think, whoa, how outrageous is that? Like the Pistols playing on the boat on the Thames, or signing their new record deal with A&M outside of Buckingham Palace. It was so, they can't do that. How are they getting away with that? But they did, and it was creating this this sort of moral indignation where the mums and the fathers go, "Oh, what? Not in my day. I used to listen to Buddy Holly," and you'd get all this outrageous stuff. And some artists would try to be outrageous for outrageous sake, but never really pulled it off. Pun intended. You're wrongin'. K-Tel, my first gig was Blancmange at Victoria Hall in Stoke. Rich, Blancmange, Living on the Ceiling. That is one of the most perfect pop songs ever. Living on the Ceiling. Whoa. Gary Shabbat, I saw Lizzie at the Dome in Brighton in the late 70s. Absolutely amazing. Oh, the sound that they would have knocked out was incredible and very loud. Very loud. Have you ever been to a gig where I've played nightclubs and it's been so loud that my ears didn't work. Not only were they fuzzy, it was like having your hands over your ears. You can hear yourself, but it just sounds really weird. And then it would take 2 or 3 days for almost them to go back to normal and pop, and you go, oh, I can hear again. Some gigs, I love it loud, mate. Love it, love it, love it. And I love the bass. I used to love standing next to big bass speakers where you could feel it, just the whole of your body would shake. Call me a pervert if you will. I might be a cynical old tart, but when it comes to music, the Rave On Disco in Phoenix Nights, Alan, wonderful. Talk were a great 80s band, says Soul Rebel. Talk was so good that It's My Life is one of those that other musicians revere. Talk with the butterfly on the 12-inch cover. They were ahead of their time by a long stretch. But wonderful, wonderful music that should have been bigger. And as I say, Andy Turner says, yes, one reason I have tinnitus. Oh, I feel sorry for you, Andy. Rich, Servin Vega, trouser, flappy bass. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they could make your trousers move. Oh, I met some woman that could do that. But they would make your trousers move. Wow. I mean, it's simple joys from music. Simple joys that the kids today are never going to get unless they kind of go to clubs. But now again, have you heard that Gen Z don't want to go to nightclubs? They want to go to clubs in the afternoon. I mean, what? So I've seen newspaper articles about Gen Z not wanting to go out later in the day because they're a bit tired. So they want to go out and have nightclubs as day clubs, as lunchtime clubs. These kids, man, they're not rock and roll. They wouldn't know what rock and roll was if it stood up and bit their tits off. Just live a bit. Don't do like weed and PlayStation. I'm not talking about that kind of life. I'm talking about the natural beauty of life. And music is one of them. If music can touch your soul and you know it to be true, I mean, everybody in the comments tonight has mentioned gigs, memories, albums, acts, all the music that has touched them deep inside. I'm not talking in the Al-Fayed sense. I'm talking about in the way that music is manna from heaven. Kids nowadays, how are they going to get that? Are they going to pick up on, I know the apple never falls far from the tree. Would your kids or your grandkids, are they going to get a sense of who you are by the tunes that you've listened to? Or when we all shuffle off this mortal coil, because nobody gets out of here alive, Prince, Buster, Big Five, top dirty tunes, Soul Rebel, A Long Life in the Mail on Sunday? No, Andy Turner. Worst gig I've ever been to, Adrian. Which one's that, Stuart? Rich, my missus went on a hen night in Glasgow and they went to a nightclub at 4 p.m. and it was full. No way. What? 4 o'clock in the afternoon? You're only just getting started. Mind you, if it goes all night, so to speak. My dad hated my platform shoes. I know. I mean, I am of a certain age where men don't wear bloody high heels. And you think, hang on, Dad, it's cool, man, it's cool. All of the people that I see on Top of the Pops are all wearing platform soles and heels, and no bloody son of mine's going to wear women's shoes. Oh, Dad, it's the in thing. Stephen Hall, queuing discs on the radio. Oh, that's why it's called needle burn. So vinyl songs, if you've got sort of you would have the playlist in a box next to you in a radio studio, and the playlist would say, or play this particular track. So you'd get it out, you'd put it on the deck, and then you put the needle on. And when people were, because we were doing it so quickly, because in any say 3.5 minute song, you would only get about 20 seconds to work out what you were doing, because you were getting ads out, putting ads away, you were writing stuff down, you were working out where you were in your playlist. So it was like running a marathon. But you would put the 7-inch single on the turntable, put the needle on, and then you would kind of whiz it around really quickly to get it to the beginning of the music, and then put it back a quarter turn. That, from the beginning of the music to the quarter turn beforehand, it was called needle burn, because so many people had used it and backtracked it to cue it properly. It was called needle burn, because it just had a hiss just before the music started, and then once the music started, you were fine. You got away with it. Paramore are a good band. Would much rather see Hayley Williams than Taylor friggin' Swift, says Rhea Odell. I'm with you. Who cleans the records and radio shows? The DJ? Nobody. We didn't have chance. I mean, I know that some people, when they take their album out of the sleeve and there's a bit of static on, so they'll clean it so the static doesn't translate into the needle, which will translate into the sound. But because we didn't have any time to do anything, didn't clean them. Just literally kept them in a sleeve that had a bit of plastic in the inside to keep all the static away, so it wouldn't attract dust. Get it out, get it on the table, get it played, and on the front of the record cover, you would have intro time, publishing rights, whether it was a clean end or a fade, how long the record lasted. So there was lots of information there for you to go, right, I'll play that for 2.5 minutes. I'll go from that into an ad break, out of the ad break, 3 songs, and then to the news. So up here, you were literally running a marathon for hours and hours and hours. Oh, hang on a second. Garen Davis, The Truth Behind the Summer of '69. Go on. Me and Baby Brother. Oh, Soul Rebel. What a tune that is. By War. I mean, War, very underrated. Me and Baby Brother. I'm trying to think of, there was one 11 minutes long by War that I've got on 12-inch, and it's awesome. Awesome. But War, very underrated. Wonderful, wonderful. Put a 12-inch on so you go to the loo. P.T. Ham, we used to have to try and work out what the longest song was we were going to play in that particular hour, and there was some 7-minute songs, and you think, right, that's enough time for me to get either along the corridor, down to the toilets, quick wee, run back. TMI, I know, but there was also, the kitchen was just beside the toilet, so you could go, run down, put the kettle on, come back, next song, put a long song on, get back down, kettle's boiled, make the coffee, get it back into the studio, don't spill it, otherwise you get the sack. And we'd have to work out some Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, for instance. You'd be able to put that on and just like zip it down there for 7 minutes, and the speakers all over the building, so you could hear the song playing. And if it skipped, you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get back there. If it's got too much fluff on the needle and it skips over, oi, 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 and the boss would go, hey, what happened there? Oh, dunno. I just, I was just having a quick comfort break, boss. Oh, that's all right then. Stephen Hall, Jarrah song, Alan Price, was it? I don't think I've played that much. Was it 5 minutes or so? Don't forget the Battenberg. Absolutely. Terrible needing the loo when playing. Put 3 long ones on in a row. It wasn't that easy, Amalia. If you were doing night times or early breakfasts, or when there's nobody in the building, you can't just say, yeah, just cue us a few records up. Because there'd be nobody around to do that for you. I mean, you could, but like in Tees or most of the other radio stations, the studios weren't on the same level, like Radio City in Liverpool in Stanley Street. The studio was down in the basement, and the DJ's presenter office would be like 3 floors above. So if you wanted anything doing, you couldn't do anything because the toilets weren't on the ground floor either. I don't remember. I think Comprod Commercial Production was on the same floor. Oh, Des Ashton, when I hear 2 tribes in my mind's eye, is Robbie Coltrane marching down the stormy breakwater. 2 tribes go to war. Oh, I mean, 84. Do you know, that's 40 years old. I don't mean to scare you. 40 years old. Wow. Right, let's get through a couple of other bits and pieces, because I could talk music to you all night. Let's get to Greg Wallace, because I'm now having my doubts, big doubts, about the veracity of what's gone on. So Greg Wallace has not broken the law. And in my view, the BBC are at it again. He's put a video out on social media to say, these things were addressed and investigated by the BBC, and I was not found guilty. So these allegations that are coming out of the newspapers have been investigated by the BBC years ago. So why is it coming out now? It's a distraction. Women of a certain age. And they're getting upset. I mean, these namby-pamby pinko liberals, they're getting upset by words, sticks and stones. If he's broken the law, and the law's an ass at the moment, it really is focusing on the wrong things. People saying hurty words. There's people demonstrating this. I mean, there's. I was going to talk about Sadiq Khan. We can kind of give it a bit of a nod, but they want to give him a knighthood. For what? Upping shoplifting and stabbings in London. So, hang on, English bottle cap. Which law has been broken? Because 14 years ago, it would only have been his word against hers. And if the BBC investigated and didn't find anything, yeah, Fred Barker and defending Islamists, I get it. So here's out, Russell Brand. Become a Christian. And then get the lads to take you down to the river near your house and dunk you and say, oh, I've been baptised. No, he hasn't. But when Russell Brand's come out and said, oh, well, only God can judge me. Whoa, no, Russell, mate. That's not how it works. So I have a dodgy baptism that really isn't a baptism. And only God can judge Greg's steak bakes. And obviously a woman of a certain age, and now coming up. Now, the thing that that doesn't sit well with me is John T. Rode. Because in the first 3 days, he said nothing. When this all kicked off, the first 3 days, he said nothing. Now, John T. Rode was best man at Greg Wallace's 4th wedding. Now, you have to ask a man who gets married 4 times, either his judgment is a bit awry or he loves wedding cake, one of the two. But John T. Rode was his best man. And then he's saying, no, we weren't mates. No, we weren't mates. We didn't go around to each other's houses. No, but we were best man at his bloody wedding. And you think, hang on a second, this is arse covering time. This is being managed by someone or something. We weren't mates. We didn't fraternise. We didn't socialise. I am distancing myself from this because there's every chance that my career might go down the pan with his. And you just think, no, mate, there's something wrong. Why didn't you come out? You've worked with a man since 2005 and you leave it 3 days to say anything. And when you do, it's, I've had nothing to do with him. Arm's length, nothing to do with him. But it is showbiz, darling. So it's a case of, oh, am I going to lose my livelihood? Oh, bagger. But let me tell you this. John T. Rode can say anything he wants. But in my universe, a real man, doesn't get married to one of the contestants from MasterChef and then plead innocence. So how did John T. Rode and his wife Lisa meet, and under what circumstances? Because she was a contestant before they got married on MasterChef. Celebrity MasterChef. Cough, you're wrongin'. The production company, production crew, production producers and crew, they all knew. But what happens in showbiz, darling, is they let the talent get away with it. But me, I've already told you some of my stories. Me, a gentleman, a real man, would have taken him to one side and said, here, shut your fucking mouth. It's inappropriate. It's uncalled for. Let's be professional. If you want to do that in your private life, then get on with it. But mate, not here. Not with the talent that's coming on the show. And not with a production crew. Keep it away from here. But it appears that nobody has I mean, Greg Wallace, he was just a barrow boy. He wasn't Harvey Weinstein. He wasn't one of the most powerful in Hollywood. He was just a daft lad thinking he could get away with it because he was some kind of minor celebrity. Weinstein was filth. And the worst that Greg Wallace has done is said a few inopportune things. Dropped his towel. I mean, oh, come on. They've all done it. That's interesting, Alan. Alan says Greg Wallace likes ladies. That seems to be a problem in this day and age. So I want to know if, as and when Greg had said something. Now, Melanie Sykes has said Greg Wallace is the reason why she left showbiz, why she didn't go and do it anymore, but hasn't elucidated any further. So you would think that somebody would say something, and if they have, and the BBC haven't done anything about it, the BBC's in the dock. The BBC is in the dock. So they're going to have to cough and say what they've done. Are they going to have an inquiry into Greg Wallace at the BBC? In the same way that there's a video going up in the morning about their £3 million inquiry into Tim Westwood. Is it the same thing that they're going to do for Hugh Edwards? Don't be silly. Of course they're not going to do anything about it. They pick and choose, these people. And remember, Savile at the BBC, they had a full-blown inquiry headed by a judge. And the output from that inquiry was Savile raped an 8-year-old girl child on BBC property. And what did the BBC do? Nix, nada, absolutely bugger all. Soul Rebel says, I'm still recovering from seeing Macron and the German Chancellor with their wives. I mean, what Donald Trump doesn't know, if only he could come out and go, oh, yeah, yeah, Big Mike. So Trump was over at Notre Dame, and it's kind of, it's almost a contradiction with what it is. Because I know that Notre Dame was a Templar church. And Notre Dame is based on the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. All of the major churches that belong to the Templars, the Knight Templars or the Knights of Malta, whichever one you choose, their main churches were based on the same floor plan, the same layout as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Notre Dame burning down 5 years ago was shocking. That was genuinely shocking. And and now they've had Emmanuel Macron and his wife and the German Chancellor and his wife. Terry Wookford, watch the whitewash. That is the Burgess inquiry. I will do, Terry. Thank you for that. Thank you for the heads up. So Notre Dame has had billions spent on it to bring it back. And I am absolutely, categorically, because you know I love the Templars, I'm categorically going to go and see it. Because the reporting is so, it's so flimsy. They stick people that we know in front of, oh, it's Notre Dame. I mean, what about, was that the Church of Quasimodo was supposed to ring the bells? But they don't get, none of them, no one in the media has talked about the sacred geometry within Notre Dame. No one's talked about the rose window and why the Templar churches have rose windows and whether they're the 12 panels that stand for the zodiac or various other things. 12 is sacred in certain thinkings. But Notre Dame, it's only across the water. I mean, you know, you'll have to go down to London or go down to the train service that takes you across to Paris, Gare du Nord, and then out to Notre Dame. I am at some point in 2025 going to go, but now that they've spent £1 billion on it, they're going to want tons and tons and tons of people to just get them in there like sheep and fleece them of the money. It's the same as St. Peter's Basilica. If you go at the wrong time, there's literally 20 and 30,000 other people in St. Peter's Basilica with you. You can't get moved. So, question. What was Donald Trump doing at Notre Dame? I don't get it. Because President Shitty Pants, brown trousers, where was he? He's the president of America. Donald Trump's not president until January 20th. Thank you, Viv. Yeah, you're wrong. Smash the likes, don't forget, before we finish. Still a while to go. So, the reportage, we'll see over the next few days. The reportage from the newspapers, they won't talk about the sacred geometry or the symbolism of Notre Dame. No Starmer. I'll tell you why, and I keep telling you this. It was Shabbat. He's not going to go and do something on his on the Jewish holy day or the Jewish day of rest. They're not going to. He's not going. Look, he keeps telling you 5 o'clock Friday night when nightfall comes in. Poof, not doing anything until nightfall Saturday night. So he didn't go across to Notre Dame. 6 day a week Starmer. Heaven help us if we ever go into a war. So 5 things you didn't know about Notre Dame. Do you know that it was saved by a Parisian playwright? And there's also a pagan city underneath the foundations of Notre Dame. And the gargoyles that kind of are up on the parapets at Notre Dame, they're not from medieval times, they're modern. So the construction of Notre Dame began in 1163, which was the height of the Templars. It's built on an island in the Seine River, Ile de la Cité, and was completed in 1345. Well, technically that's not correct. It was completed in the 1200s. It was completed while the Templars were still around, before the King of France went, "Oi, I'm not giving you your money back. You can bugger off your wrong uns." And then got the Pope involved and got them excommunicated for varying reasons. So the construction of the cathedral began in 1163, and under Bishop Maurice de Sully was largely completed by 1260. So don't have the mainstream media say it was in the 1300s and it took hundreds of years. No, 1163 to 1260, so just under 100 years to complete. And if you look at Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, that's taken a whole load of time to build, but that is a breathtaking monument, a breathtaking cathedral, La Sagrada Familia. And according to legend, this is the interesting thing. St. Peter, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus, remember I told you about the rose window and the 12 panels, denied knowing Jesus 3 times before the rooster, chicken, crowed, fulfilling Jesus' prophecy. So the next time you see France playing rugby or football, that's why they have the cock on their shirt. The Templars revered the cock or the chicken because Saint Peter, remember the Templars were merely the military grade of the Catholics, and that's why they revere chickens, cocks. Do your research. Le coq sportif. I know. Templar. France is dripping in Knight Templar symbology. Dripping. It's everywhere. Because that's where the original 9 Knights came from. And then it kind of came across here, and you had to give up all your riches, everything, and live a life of poverty and chainmail. But some of those kind of, in 2024, we would look at things and go, "Ooh, those gargoyles. They must be 1,000 years old. No, they're maybe 100 years old, maybe 200 years old if they were built in the 80s. If you look at in Edinburgh, just outside of Edinburgh. Oh man, tell I'm getting tired. I will leave it there. I can't remember it. Do you want to talk about Starmageddon, the relaunch? I'm going to do a video tomorrow on this because I don't get this man. He thinks we're as thick as pig shite, and we're not. So you remember on some of these lives, I've shown you these the promises that they were going to make, the missions they were going to succeed in before the general election. It was like a promissory note with 6 things. They've changed them. They've changed them. They've barely been in 5 months and already they're changing them. Why? Because they know we are onto them. Bless them. But they're denying it's a relaunch. Oh, yes, it is. They know they're in the shite. They know it. They know that they can't do anything with you and I because we've seen through them. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to have some interaction. Who in the public eye turns your stomach? You either are watching them on the telly or you've seen them in the newspapers and you either want to burn the newspaper or you just want to switch over the channel. You just... Ugh. Is there anybody famous that turns your stomach? Me? James Corden could be one. Starmer, definitely. He just gives me the creeps. It's that kind of, that really odd look on his face, as if somebody's just shoved a cucumber up his derriere. Gary Lineker, interesting one. English bottle cap. Geldof, says Alan. We're getting quite a few for Starmer. Boris, Sunak, Starmer, says Terry Wookfit. Yeah, Starmer. Anton Deck, Andy Turner. Wow. Starmer, Mayor of London, Schlobgate, pregnant bloke. So who in the public eye turns your stomach? Name them. All politicians, says Dill Ashton. Tom Armies, Jasmine Ali By Brown. Jasmine Ali By Brown. Don't know. Everyone on LBC. Andrew James, you're wrong. Jeremy Vine, says James Bond. Surely. Joe Brand. Klaus Schwab, says Ray Norton. I've got another question that I'm going to follow on with very quickly, but just before I do that, thank you for all of those votes. Bill Gates, Joe Brand, underline that one. Starmer, oh, Miriam Margoyles. No, I can't. Saeed Khan. Your programme will not be long enough for me to list. Brilliant, Samantha. Alistair Campbell. Oh, I forgot about him. Yeah, and his bloody bagpipes. I wish he would. Do you know, like Blair, the Clear and Present Danger, 45 minutes. It was Campbell that wrote that and gave it to Blair. I mean, I get that, you know, he's a former Labour acolyte, and they love the left-wing namby-pamby pinko liberals in the media, but yeah, Terry, you've got it all night. I have a big list. Brilliant, Terry. Just want to mention David Beckham. So we know that David Beckham loves being centre of attention. Every time that somebody scored an England goal or a Man U goal, he was always first to the goal scorer, whether it was him or somebody else. Loves the limelight, loves being in the papers. And did you see him grinning like a Cheshire Cat at Buckingham Palace the other night for being invited to, I think it was one of the Saudis. So one of the Saudis must be a major football fan. So they've invited Beckham in there. And then we hear that Beckham comforted the Manchester United receptionist in her last few days, because sadly she's passed away. But it comes out in the press that he was the one that comforted her because she was there when he was there. And why isn't he doing that kind of thing out of the public eye? Is it because he wants to tell us that he's a nice guy? Or is it because his missus wants to be a lady? You know what the Manchester United fans used to sing when he was playing for Manchester United? Quite. So how did that come out? Was it Rebecca Lewis telling the newspapers? Just don't give her a pig to milk. Tell her it's a cow. I mean, I bet she didn't. They're PRing David as hard as they can go. Is he going to get a knighthood? Are they doing it now so that when he does get a knighthood, everybody goes, yay, brilliant, brilliant. Just don't mention the Argentina match. There was effigies being hung because of what he did. Now, look, if a man can turn his life around, and as Joseph Campbell says, the hero's journey, a man has to meet himself, and he's he's keeping bees to impress Charles. He's become an organic gardener, what, to impress Charles the Weak. Now, what he knows, as in David Beckham, who's put him forward? And for servers as to what? Footy? Who's put him forward? Because you have to have kind of a sponsor or a nominee, nomineur. He has to be put forward by somebody else, not himself. And they have to ask the person. Some people go, "Oh, I didn't know." Really? So who's put him forward to the Honours Committee? The other question I was going to ask you is there was... I'm not going to do the assisted dying tonight. I'm going to ask you a really serious question. Are you boycotting Arla products? You know, the company that's doing this test on farting cows, this feed. Are you boycotting all Arla products, Lurpak and the like? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Because I've seen in the newspaper today, there was a columnist whose name I can't remember because it was she was female and was literally just talking shite in her column. She's saying, "Oh no, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't boycott them. We should enjoy it. It'll bring the price down." And you think, I'm not really interested in the price coming down after the 4 years and to make this scary, do you realise in March 2025 it'll be 5 years since the first lockdown? 5 years since the first lockdown. So since that first lockdown, do you trust anybody to tell you the truth in the media? No, me neither. So when Bill Gates, the pregnant man, and Larry Fink are in number 10 Downing Street, we need Starmer the Harmer, the liar, to tell us what they were doing in 10 Downing Street. What were they doing? And who is taking the backhanders? Who, Sakia, is taking the backhanders in Labour? Now, that would be a freebie. That might be tickets to go and see an Arsenal game. That might buy a new suit. That might buy a new pair of glasses. What did Bill Gates? And we also need to know, £63 billion has been invested in this country. Who by? Because you're telling us there's a £22 billion black hole, but then you're telling us, well, we've had £63 billion worth of investment by who? They're just giving us top line. They're not giving us any detail. They're not expecting us to believe them. They told us for the first lockdown, 5 weeks. Can you remember? 5 weeks. We all just thought, oh, we'll help each other around the doors. 5 weeks, we can do that. Then 6 weeks, oh, we can do that. Then 3 months, oh, we can do that. 2 fucking years. And these clowns think that we now trust them. Had our way and Foxtrot Oscar. Starmer is so weak and so corrupt that he's taken backhanders left, right and centre. 100 grand's worth of freebies. In my house, they're called backhanders. That's called corruption. If you're giving somebody a freebie, you obviously want something back. So £63 billion, Sakia, what are they getting back? And what are they investing in? Are they investing in the cows and the land and the agricultural land? Is it BlackRock and Bill Gates that want to buy all the farming land up? That Bill Gates is the largest agricultural landowner in America. So, within days of Bill Gates and Larry Fink from BlackRock that oversees $11 trillion worth of assets. What were they doing in number 10? How much are you taking as a backhander? What freebies are you getting from them, Kia, mate? And what £63 billion gives them? They're simple questions. Because we pay your wages, our taxes that you shaft us for, our national insurance, the every which way but loose VAT, NI, tax. You shaft us. Tell us, when we pay your wages, what do we get in return? Corruption? Brilliant, Rich. Are they going to cancel Mr. Methane as well? That's a shame. Is he still going, Mr. Methane? Oh, they don't smell. I've worked with him before. Well, they didn't when I worked with him. Terry Wookfit. Yeah, I know, mate. I live in the north of Scotland, totally devoid of coloured chaps, so I have to make do with women. Brilliant. P.T. Ham. Corruption is against the law. I know, but no, nobody does anything because, well, we'll put another 13,000 cops on the streets. I mean, he's just talking out of his hairy backside. He's plucking stuff. So they said we found a 22 billion black hole. Give us the details. Because, and here's the rub. Here's the rub that no one has the temerity to say. They're saying that all this money's missing. Zelensky, Sniffy, has come out and says, yes, let's have peace. So they had budgeted 5 years, £3 billion to Ukraine every year that they were in power. So there's 15 billion pounds that they're not going to spend in Ukraine. Where's that going? 15 billion pounds. Where's that going? So can we now give the winter fuel payments to the pensioners? Is that what he's going to do? Is he going to backtrack, Mr. Flip-Flop? Or if he's best friends with Emile Macron, Mr. Philippe Philip? They're not telling you. How can you tell when a politician's lying? Their lips move. And they're expecting us to take this bullshit. No. Foxtrot Oscar, we've seen through you, man. I've been saying for 18 months, does he scare you yet? And you laughed. You laughed. You thought I was being funny. Then he got into power and you were like, holy shit. They're calling us right wing. They're going to jail us all. They made it up. I've given you the proof. There's no such thing as right wing in Sunderland or Middlesbrough or Hartlepool, all across the northeast. No such thing. It's somewhere left of Stalin, and he's saying they're all right wing. This man's a fool. He was used by the Labour Party to get them into power. Now that he's into power, they're going to get rid of him. Whether it be before the local elections, whether it is him announcing a snap election because he's so pissed off with his own party that he's decided, right, you're shafting me, I'm having you out as well. So Starmer could go nuclear in 2025 and just call a snap election. And we know what's going to happen then. Because Starmer knows. He knows why he was used. Maybe that's why he's trying to grift as many freebies as possible. Some people are asking, why didn't you jump on one of the private jets you like jumping on, Prime Minister, and go to Paris for Notre Dame? Shabbat. He doesn't do anything on a Saturday. Nothing. How does he get to a football game then? And I'm going to ask you one more question. It's 1 for yes, 2 for no. Should Sadiq Khan be given a knighthood? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Whatever your reasons, I'm not going to dig deep. But should Sadiq Khan be given a knighthood? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Sadiq Khan, should he be given a knighthood? For political services, seemingly. I'm just trying to work out who he's made money for. Literally everybody is saying 2. Now, if there was no Sir Keir Starmer as head of Labour, Sadiq Khan, I would suggest, probably the most hated politician in the land. But how on bloody earth does he get a knighthood? For what? Making money for other people, I guarantee you. But how? I'm going to keep a couple of things for Wednesday. I'm going to talk about Band Aid the musical, because it's 40 years, December 1984, that Band Aid was originated. And now they've turned it into a musical. Let's talk about that on Wednesday. I'm a Celebrity. Just been watching it with a little bit of interest. Let's talk about your greatest fear or phobias on Wednesday. We'll talk about Maya Tusi. Call me a cynical old tart, but you've been played. Not Maya Tusi. I would suggest very strongly, knowing what I know and my police friends telling me, Tusi was a publicity stunt. Wasn't real. Now, I don't know whether he's taken in Andre Walker. Andre Walker's too clever, by far, to be taken in. But clicks and likes and subs. And I will tell you this. This channel's been going for 2 and a bit years. And I haven't rushed anything. Because do you know something? I've taken my time to build your trust with me. I'm not interested in doing anything outside of what we're already doing. Maybe some new things in 2025. We're already starting to do more videos and getting the channel more coverage and more awareness. But this is social media. It's a bit of a cesspool. And there are lots of people that don't understand. I've had a modicum of fame previously, so I get the game. Maybe we do some live shows. Maybe I do a Magic Mike show. I'm joking. It wouldn't be magic by any stretch. But Tusi was a publicity stunt. He wasn't going to be arrested by the cops, because that's not the way the cops work. And now he's legged it to Scotland. He's got to be very careful, because when people don't trust you, or they sniff a bit of bullshit, or they think, hang on a second, what's going on here? That's the point that people start asking questions. And at the point they start asking questions, you're done. You're finished. So as I say, I've taken my time building your trust with me, because that's the most important currency in any social media activity. If you haven't got the trust of the people in your community or the people that watch you, you've got nothing, and you're not going to achieve anything. Would I like this to be a full-time job? Cool. That's a lot of grift and a lot of graft. Freudian slip. So far, that's not been for me. I really love doing these lives on a Sunday and a Wednesday, and I do days of prep as we come into them. Because on the one hand, I want to earn your trust. It's not given freely, it has to be earned. And that's why I've done lots of different things in the past 2 years, so that you know that I'm genuine. You know that I'm doing the stuff to give you information for you to work this bullshit that's going on at the moment with the politicians, the geopolitics and money, and you will own nothing and be happy. We are in such extraordinary times. It needs extraordinary thinking. And I'm not suggesting I have all the answers either. But what I do have is integrity. And I said to you right at the very beginning, when I was being attacked by people, and they were needless and silly attacks for no other reason than they didn't know who I was. Now they do. And do they hang around and listen to what I've got to say? No, don't be stupid. They want it easy. They want to watch I'm a Celebrity. They want to watch bullshit TV. They haven't got the intellectual rigor to be able to take the information that I give you that has been garnered over 40 years. Having seen the PDF politicians and know what they do and then dump them overboard in the English Channel and know who they are and the powerful and what they do and the powerful and the rich and what they do to kids. No. I'm a Celebrity's on soon. I've told you about what's going on in the Middle East and the reasons why. It's energy independence. I've told you what the war in Ukraine was all about. It was Russia's energy independence. And how can Donald Trump suddenly go, right, I'll be president and we'll stop all the wars, and all the wars suddenly stop? Because there was nothing in it. It was money laundering. It was money washing. That's what they're all at, the elite. Okay, now, you've probably forgotten about this, but there's Vladimir Putin, Russian president. What was his chef's name? The head of Wagner, the group. Putin's chef disappeared with $6.4 billion of CIA money. Because they thought that the Wagner Group was going to chase Vladimir Putin up to St. Petersburg, where Wagner Group had their headquarters, and Putin was going up there. They thought that the Wagner Group was going to chase him up to St. Petersburg. And did he? No. They disappeared with $6.4 billion. Half for Putin, half for, not Zelensky, Sarkozy? No. But the head of Wagner, he disappeared. And then the Russians turned out and said, oh, no, he died in a plane crash. And everybody went, oh, did he? And the Russians went, oh, yeah, we've got a body. It's burned and charred, so we can't really identify it, but it appears to be him. So he died in a plane crash. And everybody believed them. Prigozhin. Thank you, Terry Prigozhin. It's all about the grift for these people. So as I say, I've had to give you some real left field thinking. And the people that are here regularly get to understand. They get the context and get the understanding. And not everybody gets this. 99% of all YouTube channels don't make 10,000 subs. 99% of all YouTube channels, and there are millions of them, don't make 10,000 subs. Hopefully, we will make 10,000 subs sometime early 2025, of which I am very proud. There's 500 videos being uploaded. Yeah, Obama chef, he died in mysterious circumstances. They all do. If you find out about these people and find out what they're into, Big Mike, they never, ever. It's all fluff, glamour. It's all bullshit. They don't tell you the real truth, because if they told you the real truth, you would have them out of office toot sweet. So to the Scarlet Pimpernel and to the others that have helped behind the scenes in the last couple of years, I just want to say thank you. We're hurtling towards Christmas 2024. I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to you for watching and for giving me your trust, because what's trust is earned, it's never given. But with power comes responsibility, and I don't underestimate what this is and how it's done. And my phone-ins on any radio station around the country, whether it's North East, North West, South Wales, East Midlands, London, around the whole of the UK, because LBC was a national station, all the phone-ins that I've done have been very real, and integrity carries a lot of weight and power. And that's all I strive for, truth and integrity. I mean, I say I won't ask you for any money. I don't. Those that donate, I'm very grateful for, and I'm very generous. I may ask if you can help me raise some money next year. I've got a place in the Great North Run. It's 60-odd-year-old. I must be mad. But it's 13.5 miles. So we can work together and maybe earn a couple of £100 for a children's charity or something. But that's in the future. That's in the future. And you will know that it will be not GoFundMe, the charity website that you can donate things to. I will do it. Everything that I do will have transparency, always. Because the currency in today's social media is integrity and trust. And that is important to me. Your trust, my integrity. It's the only reason I do this. Thank you for your likes. Please smash the likes on your way out and wipe your feet out of the body of the Kirk. It's been another very different live tonight. I love talking music with you. I just love doing it because I know that you're passionate about it. So thank you for your likes. Make sure you're subscribed because there's videos every day coming for you. We've done it for a week and it's been amazing for the channel. We'll continue to do that for you. We'll continue to entertain you. Look after yourself. On the 21st of December, that's when the nights start getting longer, bizarrely. So we'll get 2 minutes a night from December 21st. We'll be back another Wednesday, this Wednesday, 8 p.m. for another live. Hope you'll be there. Good night all. Be well. Stay safe. And Storm Dara, my hairy backside. It was just a bit windy. See you Wednesday, 8 o'clock.